Welcome. I'm your host, Jesse Swear, nationally recognized inclusive fitness trainer, Silver Sneaker Flex instructor. Find out more about me, visit my website, www.jesseswear.com. And today, for those Silver Sneaker instructors, for those older adults, for those seniors that are aging, or an individual that might be recovering from a hip replacement, I have some modifications of a hip hike exercise. Now, what's a hip hike? Well, it's the ability to shift the weight from side to side, but I want to add modifications so that if you are recovering, no matter if it's an anterior hip replacement, an interior hip replacement, or a posterior hip replacement, that you can add these modifications safely and effectively so that you can keep up with your counterparts at any exercise class that you take, and also on your own, just working on some stability and then working on that mobility as you go through that recovery process. So we're going to start with just a hip movement or a hip shift or a hip hike, and then we're going to go to a hip jog. That will be the modification, and then we'll add to that. So a hip hike is you're just shifting your weight to the left, as you can see what I just did, and then I'm shifting my weight to the right. I'm keeping my feet planted. I'm really in that horse stance, so toes over knees, knees over hips, hips over shoulders, and I'm just shifting. Shift and shift. So you can accentuate that shift by just pushing side to side, right? And this is just a hip hike. Now, if we want to go to a hip jog, I lift up the heel on the right side, shift my weight, lift up the heel on the left side. So I'm just shifting and lifting the heel up. And you can keep your hands here. You can hold on to a chair, hold on to a banister. But now I'm at a hip jog. And I'm just moving my hands back and forth. And I went from hip hike to hip jog. Right? Now, if you want to advance this motion, now again, there's counterindications depending on the hip injury or the hip replacement, that you don't want to go cross midline. So as I lift up that leg, because I'm going to go into a higher lift, and now I'm taking my foot off the ground, not necessarily want to get that hip past 90 degrees, right? I don't want to go like a really high hip lift. Now, for some individuals, based upon the level of injury, you can get them higher. So you go to your comfortability level. And now I'm just lifting up. So we went from, right, hip hike, hip jog, hip lift. Right? Now you're jogging a little more advanced. That's the third one. And now I'm going to just add a hip touch with there you go. You got it, right? So you got 4 modifications right now. Hip hike, keeping those heels down, moving that hip side to side. Hip jog, lift the heel up. Hip lift. Don't go past 90. Don't go past midline. And then hip touch. Right? You're just touching your knee, getting to that height where it's comfortable. And then the 5th modification, right? A little more for the abs, a little hip twist, all right? So hip twist, where you got to twist through that upper body, and now you're really working on mobility. So we went from stability to mobility in 5 modificated moves. Modificated, I don't even know if that's a word, but we're going to use it. Modificated moves. So they're modifications for you at home. So let's go back, hip, right, hip hike, shifting, hip jog, lifting the heels, hip lift, hip touch, and then that hip with that rotation. Really work on the mobility. And there you have it. 5 different exercises for the hips that you can add as instructors an individual that's recovering from a hip injury, that older adult, that senior, or even just like me, just trying to get an exercise routine out of it. Throw it into your routine, throw it into your instruction, and keep improving. Work on stability, and then work on that mobility. Peace, my friends. Subscribe, and keep coming back for more just like this.